Good morning. Wednesday morning, January 13th. And the first name that I see this morning is Kim Johnson. Mike and Kim, welcome this morning. Janisa Bush, good morning. Jeremy and Wendy, praying for you guys this morning. I know there's a lot to do to get ready to leave for Haiti, and I'm sure all that is kind of, you're feeling the pressure of that, and I just keep praying for you guys for strength, for wisdom, that everything just goes smoothly for your departure on Saturday. Barbara Del Rio, good morning to you. Jim and Kathy Fuente. Steve and Andrea Hauser, good morning. Yeah, Jeremy and Wendy, I was praying for you guys this morning thinking, man, I really wished I would have cashed out my ticket. I'm sitting on a ticket to Haiti, and I'm envious. I wished I were jumping on a plane, heading to Haiti with you guys. There's my mom. Good morning to you. Carmen, good morning. Prayed for you this morning, Carmen. Just aware of all the people in your life that are so important to you, that weigh heavily on your heart. Praying for you. Debbie King, good morning to you. Barbara Richardson, Lori Agassi, Jan Akins, good morning. Welcome, everybody. This morning we are in Psalm 13. Psalm 13. It's only 6 verses long, and so I'm going to read the entire psalm, maybe not all in one shot, but kind of give us the picture as we go. Psalm 13 says, "How long, O Lord?" I've said this statement many times. You could probably guess what's happening in the psalmist's life, and it's not positive, right? How long will you forget me forever? He says. How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I counsel in my soul? Just to keep talking to my own soul, giving myself pep talks, right? And have sorrow in my heart all the day. How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? So the psalmist is clearly in a having a troublesome experience in his life. We don't know what that experience is, but we can all identify if you just fill in the blank. It's easy for us to identify, especially when we're going through something difficult, but in general, all of us can identify times in our life where circumstances, our own heart is kind of melting within us, and we're experiencing that, and we're wondering, God, where are you? It feels like you're not there. You've forgotten me. My circumstances are feeling overwhelming. God, I know you can act on my behalf, but for some reason, my circumstance hasn't changed, and I've waited for a long time, apparently. There's been a length of time that I've lifted this up to you, I've prayed to you, I've sought you, but my circumstances, my heart, whatever's happening hasn't changed. And so now I'm beginning to ask the question, how long is this going to go? I'm kind of coming to the end of my faith, my patience, my endurance, my strength. That's kind of the picture. So then he shifts. You can see he kind of intensifies it. He's at this turning point. He says, "Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Light up my eyes, lest," this is the turning point, "lest this happens, lest I sleep the sleep of death, lest my enemies say, I have prevailed over him, lest my foes rejoice that I am shaken." So I'm at the tipping point, basically, the psalmist is saying. I've had this lengthy experience that I would not prefer, and now I'm at the tipping point, and I'm wondering when, God, you are going to rescue, when you're going to change my circumstance, when you're going to help me in the emotions I'm feeling in my heart, my life, my perspective, whatever it is. And here's where the psalm turns, and this is where I really want to dwell on this morning's devotion, and that is the final 2 verses of the psalm. We see this big picture perspective that the psalmist enters in. We don't get the impression that his circumstances have changed. He's still dealing with all the things he's dealing with, but his perspective changes in this psalm. Listen to it. Verses 5 and 6. But, there's the change, right? But I have trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. And I want to point out a couple of things in these last two verses that I think are so important for us to take away. First of all, the psalmist looks backward. I have trusted in God's steadfast love. So he's looking backward over the course of his life and saying, all of my life to this point, I have trusted in God's steadfast love. God has never failed me in the past. He's always remained consistent. His grace toward me has prevailed all of this time. And he looks in the moment of his discouragement, in the moment of his kind of coming to the end of his endurance, whatever he's going through, he looks back and says, you know what? I've always trusted you, God. I've always trusted in your steadfast love. And then he looks forward and he says, my heart will, or my heart shall rejoice in your salvation. God, I know you will deliver. I know you will answer my prayer. I know my ultimate hope is found in you, and I don't know how far in the future it's going to happen, but I know my circumstance will change. I will be in your presence. I will be satisfied with who you are. I will experience, whatever it is that you have for me in the future. And then in the now, so I will sing to the Lord. This is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. When you're looking around at your current life circumstance, it's easy to focus on whatever it is that's going wrong in our life. But when you kind of expand our view, the psalmist says, man, I'm going to sing to God because he's dealt bountifully with me. My whole life is not painted by this current dilemma, this current circumstance, this current trouble that I'm experiencing. When I look at the big picture, God, you've dealt bountifully with me. You've always been there for me in the past. Your steadfast love has not changed. When I look to the future, I know my ultimate salvation comes from you. You will deliver. Even if that salvation comes at my death. That's a strange thought. It's kind of a morbid thought, right? But in the reality, it says when the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 8 reminds us that when he looks forward to that future deliverance where he passes from this life into the presence of God, he says that glory will be so wonderful that our current sufferings will feel light and momentary. And so we have that bigger perspective. How has God dealt with me in the past? Where is my salvation coming from in the future? Even if that future means the glory, experiencing the glory of God in his presence, that all of these things, all this struggle that I'm currently having, will feel light and momentary. And I can say, when I see the big picture, Lord, you have dealt bountifully with me. So let me just expand on this idea a little bit more to help us get that perspective of the big picture. One of the things that I think is really helpful for us to understand is, and we have to kind of meditate on this, so hang with me here, is our relative unimportance, our relative insignificance. So think about it. We are one person. I am one person of 7 point whatever billion people that are alive right now. 7 point whatever billion who may be going through a difficult time, may be going through a tragedy, maybe experiencing a success, a failure, whatever it is. People are living their lives. They have their hopes and dreams. They're having babies. They're experiencing a loved one who's passed. They feel the relational estrangement, maybe of a relationship gone wrong. They are hoping for that career move, that maybe to get into that college or whatever it is. There's lots of people, there's billions of people in the world who are experiencing all the same things that I am experiencing. So when I think about my relative importance, me among 7 billion something people, I really am not that important. I'm really not that significant relative to the rest of the people in the world. And I was looking at statistics this morning just out of curiosity, and it is estimated that 150,000 people die every single day in the world. 150,000 every day. And if we think that number makes us feel insignificant, a lot of people, that's a lot of sorrow happening in the world. There are 350,000 babies born every day. 150 people pass from this life, and 350 people come into life every single day. So even if my whatever insignificant life comes to an end, there is almost 3 times as many people coming into the world to replace me. No great loss. Now, I'm making light of something that's quite serious, but you get the picture. My life is relatively insignificant. My life is relatively unimportant when I compare it to those kinds of grand figures. And then that's just in my current generation. You think there's lots of generations that were here before me that experienced all the same things that I'm experiencing, and there's lots of generations that are going to be after me who will never even know who I was. Don't understand my life, anything, don't even know my name, right? There's going to come after me, unless the Lord comes in our generation, which, Maranatha, Lord come quickly, right? So that the first thought is we have to, when you get to the big picture, is understanding our relative insignificance, our relative unimportance in the grand scheme of people in the world and what they're experiencing. But once we wrap our mind around that a little bit, meditate on that, hang with me here, meditate on that a little bit, then we recognize verses like Psalm 139, which says that in God's eyes, we are very significant. Even though we are one of 7 point whatever billion, God knows when we rise, when we sit. He knows every thought before we think it. He knows every word before we speak it. He was there when we were being knit together in our mother's womb. He knows the number of our days. They're all written down in his book. He has recorded them. Our lives to God are incredibly significant. And the reason I bring this contrast is that we have to understand that my trouble in my life is not unique, first of all. And I need to expand my view of all the people in the world who are experiencing all different things, griefs and successes and so on. I'm one of 7 point whatever billion just in my generation. Yet, the God who created all things, the God who sustains all things, is interested in every detail of my life. He knows the New Testament tells us he knows the exact number of hairs on our head. God who is aware of even when a sparrow falls. The Bible tells us he is far more concerned with the details of our lives. And so when we look at the big picture, we look at the past, how has God dealt with us? We look to the future, our future salvation, and we can rejoice in that when we see, and I hope that the value of what God is doing in our life, past, present, and future, as we take the big picture in, we take that big picture and rest it against the backdrop of everybody's big picture, and understand that we have a relationship with a God who is relationally connected to every single one of us. That's the amazing nature of our relationship with our God, and the amazing nature that our minds can't even wrap around about who God is. So I just hope that I want to say that as an encouragement to two final thoughts before we go. One is, don't resist the temptation to not paint your life with the feelings and circumstances that you have right in this moment. They're passing, they're fleeting. We know this if you've lived any length of time. but they feel very intense right now. But we have to understand them in the greater picture of our life, how the steadfast love of God has always served us in the past. His salvation is in the future. We see our life in relative to everybody in the world. We see the significance that we have to God, and then therefore we can sing because God has dealt bountifully with us. Don't overly paint your life with your current experience in a negative way. You got to see the good, and you got to see the big picture. And the second thought is that we shouldn't have too great of expectations when things are going great. Things are just singing, and going along, and everything's clicking away. We have to understand the big picture there too. That, rejoice in this moment, because we know other moments are coming that aren't going to be as fun. And just take each one in and enjoy it for what it is. Without the expectation that this ought to be the way it is all the time. I should always live on a mountaintop. I should always be experiencing this incredible rejoicing and joy. But we take all of our experiences into account, take the big picture, and we understand. And we can, in the moment, good or bad, even if we were saying, "How long, O Lord?" we can say, "I will sing," because I know God has dealt bountifully with me. It's about having perspective. It's about understanding the big picture of what God is doing. So be blessed today, and I hope that you understand how bountifully God has dealt with you today. Reflect on that. Reflect on it. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning.